Every Halloween brings a cacophony of sweets, pumpkins, and above all, costumes. Throughout October and part of September, and probably part of August actually, we've seen fancy dress shops take over supermarkets, pop up in our high streets and take over our cities. And these pop-up shops and supermarkets have brought a whole range of rather strange fancy dress costumes with them. Dressing up in fancy dress costumes always brings this time of year to life. And there's some good options out there, but also some rather scary ones. Now, I'm not trying to be a snob. I know that fancy dress costumes are cheap and they're supposed to be made cheaply so they can be affordable for people to dress up their kids, dress up and go trick-or-treating with them. But my God, there's some really interesting choices been made, as there always is. Looking through one of the big websites, you can see Romans, Egyptians, a Medusa, some peasant girls, a gentleman sporting a toga. So with that, what I thought might be quite interesting is to see what some of these costumes would be like if they were rendered a bit more historically accurate. So I've found a couple of options and I have got my iPad and we're going to have a look and see what we can come up with to make these options a bit more authentic. So I had a bit of a look on the internet and I found one of the big fancy dress operators to see what sort of costumes they're offering this year. As you can probably tell, it's pretty much the same. There was a lot of Xena warrior princesses, Cleopatras, medieval gowns, Scream options were coming up quite a lot, and I thought I'd have a look and see what the historical costumes that they were offering were like, and pretty much the same as you can expect every single year. My first option was this adult mustard peasant dress. It's quite nondescript in the way it's been made. It's kind of like a 1970s maxi dress, really. So I've taken it to a more medieval style with my rendering. So we're going to start off with our template for this first costume, and I've created the undergarment already. So I've put on this shift dress, which I'll show you an example of this in a time appropriate painting. And from this we're going to now draw on top and create a version of the costume that's on the website, but in a much more historically accurate way. So for that I'm going to use this reference image and we're going to take that onto this template and create our final costume rendering. So we start off with the shift underneath, and then I'm adding on the top part of the kirtle, giving it some working sleeves, and now I'm adding the skirt part of the kirtle, which is sort of draped up at the front, and giving it its mustard colour. I went with the blue initially to see how that was looking against the drawing, and then I've added in the mustard, giving her veil and some shadowing, and we have our final illustration rendered. So let's add in this mustard dress, and pointing out that I've added a veil, I've added some long linen sleeves, a kirtle which is more appropriate, and then a smock underneath. Let's move on to our adult medieval warrior costume. She's got a sort of burgundy wine coloured dress with what seems to be like a hybrid of a belt and some scant armour. Let's see how we can make this a bit more appropriate. For this one, I thought one of the most pivotal warriors of the medieval period was Joan of Arc, so I've looked at an image of her And you can see this draped underlayer, which we're going to start off with in our drawing. And then this image of Joan, which is much later. It's a relatively contemporary image. So starting off with our underlayer, we move into adding on the armor on the torso. So I've given her a breastplate, some armor down her arms. I'm using this reference image as well to look at how we're adding our skirt in, and I'm going to keep the sketch from our foundation layer, adding in some gold details to match our reference image of the fancy dress costume. And then we have our version of this women's warrior costume. Adding them side by side, we have given our illustration some cropped hair in the style of Joan herself. We've added some armored torso and arms and a long skirt to echo our original source material. Now let's look at one more, and this is an adult executioner costume. We've gone a bit later potentially than what this costume is trying to do. This is probably trying to be a bit more medieval, but some of the really lovely resources I found were a bit later, so I'm going to stick with that. So let's start off with our foundation layer, and let's add in a jerkin. And what I found out mostly is that executioners rarely wore masks, but there is a thing about certain executioners being ostracized because of their practice, so they would try and hide their identities as much as possible. And this came particularly pertinent with Charles I, and this is one of the main resources that we have of an executioner not showing his face. And then we have our final illustration. Let's add in our executioner, and here we can see that we've added a white linen smock, black leather jerkin, some breeches, woolen socks and leather shoes to make it more appropriate. And here's another illustration of Charles I's execution showing a mask, so let's give him a mask as well. So what do you think? Did I take that in the most appropriate way? I think I made the most of the resources that I had and had a bit of a play with it. Halloween's about having fun. I'm not trying to take out the fun of the costume and the going to the fancy dress shop and picking what you're going to be. I do just think maybe that some of these costumes and these companies could put a little bit more effort in, just a tiny bit, a teeny weeny little bit. I'm not asking too much. But yeah, I had fun. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing what I came up with. I'd be really interested to see what you would come up with if you had any ideas as we were going along those drawings and you think I probably would have done this a bit differently and we should have put this in, you should have put that in. So maybe put some comments below on what you think could have been adjusted, and maybe we'll revisit this next year. You never know. So thank you very much for watching. I have just opened a Patreon. If you would like to subscribe to that, there's various different tiers, and with that comes some different rewards and benefits. Every video will be uploaded to Patreon first for the subscribers, and then after that it will go to general release on YouTube. But with each video will come some sort of resource that goes alongside it. So in today's video, for example, I'm going to be releasing digital versions of each of the sketches, and then if we're making something, then there will be patterns and there will be breakdowns of costumes, all these different things that will be coming from each of the videos that we make. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.